So, you want to learn more about critical literacy? Well, you have come to the right place. Critical literacy is a way of thinking about texts that challenges the inherent meaning of information. So that's a quote from Promoting Critical Literacy Across the Curriculum and Fostering Safer Learning Environments. The author is Roberge. So basically this means that it means more than to just comprehend a text. It's instead you want to look at the text and then beyond the text itself. The values, the assumptions, the perspectives, and the techniques that all surround it. It's about being aware that a text has influence and then figuring out what that influence is on the reader. Let's do a little bit of a case example. So let's think about the story Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella. They are very similar. So in those stories, we know about the plot, we know about the characters, we know what happens, we know why it happens, we know the beginning, middle, and end, and could probably retell it quite easily. That is comprehension of a text. Critical literacy, on the other hand, is much deeper than that. We would look at maybe the values of the author. So the values of the author seem to be that a happy life is one where it ends in heterosexual marriage. Or they assume that women, just like the ones in their story, aren't very capable of helping themselves when they're in difficult situations, that they need to be rescued. So that analysis of the text, none of that was said in the text, but those are the messages that surround it. So that is looking through the lens of critical literacy. So critical literacy, not a program, not something you bring in for 6 weeks and then forget about. It's a lens in which you consume information. In an article titled Developing Critical Literacy Skills, Exploring Masculine and Feminine Stereotypes in Children's Literature, Dr. Dion makes a fantastic point. We live in a media-saturated world. We have information coming at us all the time. We have information on us all the time with our cell phones and our other devices. This is the world that we live in, and this is the world that our students live in. So this is why employing critical literacy is so important. With all the information coming at our students, we need to teach them to not accept every single thing they hear as truth or as justice. They need to look at the information that they encounter and be able to think about the perspectives, about the values, and the assumptions that completely surround it. So when we facilitate learning opportunities for students to look through the lens of critical literacy, we are getting them to 1, challenge assumptions and values, 2, explore multiple perspectives and imagining those that are silent and not mentioned, 3, examining power relationships and power dynamics, and 4, reflecting on and using literacy practices to take action for social justice. So when we apply these values in our classroom, students are able to understand their own relationship to a text. They're able to analyze how and why texts are made the way that they are and how they influence their audiences. They're able to evaluate how valid a text and the information it has in it is. And they're able to consider the social implications of a text, what it means in the world today or in the world that it was made in. So that's the quick and easy version of what critical literacy is and why it is so important for our 21st century learners. I urge you now to go onto the rest of the site and learn how you can facilitate this type of thinking inside of your classroom. First, looking at what your environment should look, sound, and feel like. Then looking at how and what type of text you should be choosing for your students. And then looking at the types of questions that students should be asking one another that align with the principles of critical literacy.